You don't like kids. That's too bad. You might have made a good father.
Kid, have I got news for you.
I am your father.
Yippee! Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another episode of Treknalysis. Now, I have a lot of crazy Star Trek theories. Some that are a little too crazy to be true, and others are
so sane that you just blew your mind.
This theory is perhaps my longest held theory, that nepotism is alive and well in the 24th century, that the reason Captain Picard has taken an interest in Wesley Crusher is because he's actually Wesley's father.
I'm your father.
But before I go any further, make sure you subscribe to my channel for videos about Star Trek, video games, and whatever else I feel like talking about. Be great to have you aboard. Young Wesley Crusher, son of the Enterprise's chief medical officer, Dr. Beverly Crusher, was a bright young lad, constantly showing up the Enterprise crew as well as earning the ire of the fan base. I did a video about that actually, check it out. But what if the reason that Captain Picard singled him out on the ship, mentoring him to becoming one of Starfleet's next up-and-coming officers, wasn't because he happened to be the son of his long-dead best friend, but because he, Captain Picard himself, was the boy's actual father? Do I have some evidence to back this up? A little bit. Is this evidence largely circumstantial? Probably. Could there be logical evidence to dispute my claims? Very likely. Is there anything that throws a wrench into my theory? Oh, absolutely. But nevertheless, there's enough here that I had to make a video about it. So, in the case of young Wesley Crusher, is Captain Picard the father? Well, in the words of Mr. Garrick,
just notice the details. They're scattered like crumbs all over this table we regularly share.
So, let's start at the top. Picard hates kids. Except that one. Picard is established early into the show, heck, the first episode, that he's not so great with kids.
I would appreciate it if you could keep me from making an ass of myself with children. I don't feel comfortable with children.
Heck, even in season 4, he's still saying he's not good with kids.
You're probably not aware of this, but I've never been particularly comfortable around children.
Really?
You see that look in Troy's eyes? That's her pretending that she and the rest of the ship didn't already know.
Really?
Everyone knows. You don't like kids.
But anyways, Picard has a standing order in the very first episode. Not a request, a full-blown order. No children on the bridge. Well, look whose kid it is! Suddenly, Picard changes his tune. Here, Wesley, come sit in my chair. Here, Wesley, here's how you press my buttons. He's teaching him the family business. But notice that Picard was perfectly willing to enforce his order about no kids on the bridge until he sees whose kid it is. And then he changes his tune.
Get off the bridge, both of you.
So, why that specific kid? And I know what you might say. Well, Wes is his best friend's kid. And maybe, just maybe, I could buy that. Until he invites him to sit down in his chair. It's one thing to be like, yeah, sure, you can look around my bridge.
But don't touch anything.
However, it's another thing to invite the kid to sit in your chair. The very chair that you're a little particular about. And throughout the show, Picard constantly takes an interest in Wesley. Oh, Wesley's just looking at the bridge a few episodes later? How about working ops next to Geordi, who went to the academy and had to be trained to operate his console? Heck, he even promotes him 5 episodes into the show!
That would give him authorized access to the bridge.
Well, then I'll have to make him an acting ensign.
Excuse me? No need to go to the academy when Daddy's the captain. Oh, making Wesley in charge of a team of actual Starfleet officers? Did anybody think how they would feel about being underlings to a literal teenager?
What makes my judgment so superior to these people?
I mean, he's singling Wes out for some pretty big responsibilities that I'm sure officers on the Enterprise have worked hard to even be considered for those responsibilities, just to be overlooked for a kid who's been on the ship for 2 weeks. You see, the point I'm trying to make is that for a guy who doesn't like kids, he's taking a pretty big interest in that specific kid.
Ensign, Wesley, it's not true. You're a fine young man.
But I know, that can mean anything. I mean, maybe Picard feels a little responsible for his friend's death. But what about Beverly constantly and heavily hinting at something being between her and Picard?
Then there must be a lot of things about you that I don't know.
Quite a few.
What? Now, just a minute. Here's something odd.
There are some things I want to tell you. In case we don't get out of this. For some time, I've been meaning to say something to you. I might not have another chance. Jean-Luc, you and I.
Yeah, the writers really leaned into this early in the show, playing up the obvious attraction and tension between the captain and his chief medical officer, as well as the existence of a big secret. That big secret, however, is never really revealed, usually with Beverly being cut short before she reveals it to Picard. But what could it have been? Could it have been long-standing feelings of love? Or could it be Wesley's true parentage?
I can see in your face all the people I've loved in my lifetime.
Especially Jean-Luc for some reason. But, okay, the secret is never stated, and it could be anything from, I love you to, I switched your Earl Grey to decaf 20 years ago at a party and you didn't notice. Fair enough. But doesn't it seem a tad odd that Wesley constantly wants Picard's approval? Sure, Picard was his, father's best friend, and ultimately serves as a connection to his father. But how many of us lose sleep over impressing our dad's friend that we barely know? There's one scene in particular that really seals the deal on this for me. You remember when Picard, Wesley, and that random mining guy were stuck on Not Arrakis, and Picard was severely injured in a cave? Wesley has a bit of a heart-to-heart with him, telling him something that he's never told anyone.
All of the things that I've worked for, I've done it all because I want you to be proud of me.
Kind of an odd thing to say to your dad's friend, but you know what's not odd? Saying that to your father. I mean, who doesn't want to gain their father's approval, even into the adult years?
I was always proud of you.
Heck, Picard was the one who convinced Wesley to tell the truth during the first duty. Besides the fact that Picard gave Wes a little fatherly smackdown,
You don't deserve to wear that uniform.
the whole idea that Wesley let him down being involved in a cover-up for as long as he was,
I've let down everyone. My mother, my friends, you.
that says something.
I was always proud of you.
Now, this evidence may or may not be convincing evidence. I acknowledge that. But there's one particular episode that throws a wrench into my theory. A particular Season 7 episode.
You were married to my best friend. But although I would never act on it, I couldn't help the way I felt.
Yep. According to Picard, he never acted on his feelings. Well, now, I'm gonna go into severe headcanon territory, but I think I can still make my theory work in the context of Trek. With a memory wipe, which are totally a thing in Star Trek. Heck, Worf's brother was given a completely new identity and family history.
Who am I? Your name is Rodak. You are my son.
In theory, Picard and Beverly did the you-know-what, and Picard, deeply consumed with guilt, had the memory purged from his brain with a memory wipe. 9 months later, Wesley is born.
And yet when asked to assume a parental role, you cringe.
Of course, this headcanon would rely on an appropriate timeline. Picard and Jack would have had to known each other at least long enough to become best friends before Beverly became pregnant with Wesley. There is some question as to whether or not the writers early on were heading towards a reveal that Wesley was Picard's son and completely abandoned it. After all, while Picard and Beverly are shown to be good friends throughout the show, the tension between them lessens after Season 1 until partway through Season 7. However, because of that evidence in the early part of the show, I would argue that possibly there could be baldness in Wesley Crusher's future.
I'll never look at your hairline again in the same way.
And that is my Picard as Wesley's father theory. But now what about you? Does this theory hold water, or am I just grasping at straws? Is it possible that Wesley has a bald head waiting for him down the road, or can he brush his hair with ease? And what are some of your favorite crazy Star Trek theories? Please leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Treknalysis. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
Didn't you ever wish you had kids of your own?